I want to get to our guest speaker today. I sent him a message last week, and it's an absolute pleasure working with this gentleman. You've heard him on calls before, Mr. Ryan Bird. I sent him a message last week because we were texting back and forth, and I love getting his phone calls and his messages because there's always a cool message when he's sending me a message saying, hey, this is what I ran into. Even the not so successful days are always fun to get a message from him because you can just see the conviction, the work ethic that's there. But I'm excited about what he's got going on because the message that he had sent me over, I think it was Thursday of last week, where he was kind of telling me a little bit about what his day was, what was going on in his day, how things were going, and I was fired up. So I don't want to steal any thunder from Ryan, but the topic of today's call, as you guys read in the text message, we had mentioned in the text messages, is, don't derail your success. We had to shorten that up a little bit so it can be emailed out and texted out. But I don't want to steal any thunder from Ryan, so I'll open up his line and let him get rolling. Ryan, are you there?
I'm here. Chase, can you hear me?
I can, loud and clear. Thanks for, I know you got a busy day ahead of you today, and I appreciate you taking the time to jump on the call today.
Well, Chase, I appreciate you asking me to do that. I think it's always a compliment, when I get asked to do that, so I appreciate that. First of all, I think this probably doesn't get said enough, but just really quickly, Chase does a lot for this organization. He's been a good motivator for me. He's sometimes in this business it can be kind of, you're out there by yourself, you're hitting the streets, you're going to see people, and sometimes you're really successful and sometimes you're not. Every day is different, but it's always great to have somebody that you can send a text to. Chase has been there, and so I gotta give Chase kudos. He's a great guy. He does a lot for this, for us as agents. So I just wanted to give a little shout out to Chase. He's great at what he does. He helps, I think, agents all over, to be better. So, texting back and forth with Chase, it was interesting because last week it was kind of a challenge for me. I sent him a text basically that said, I had some appointment setter. I'm the kind of guy that uses an appointment setter, and I get quite a few leads every week, 20, 30 leads a week, but I sent Chase a text saying, hey, it was Wednesday or something like that, I think. Maybe it was Thursday, I can't remember, but I basically said, listen, I'm appointment setter problems, this and that. Ended up having to door knock, which is rare, exceptionally rare for me to door knock an entire week. And I was able to scratch out, and I literally mean scratch out. I clawed my way to 4,200 in EP, which was, I've never done that before. That was exceptional for some, part of it seems like a little bit of luck, I guess, but I remember it was late at night. I was door knocking all day long, just kind of getting beat up, running into nobody home. So I just kind of scratched my way through it. It turned out to be a good day. I remember having 3 applications that day, and I thought, man, I'm just barely shy of my goal. I wanted to hit at least 4,000 AP for that week. I was getting ready to go on vacation, take the 4-wheelers up into the mountains and have fun. And I really, really wanted to hit that goal. And so it was like 7:30 at night, and I remember thinking, I just need one more application. I just need one more. And I kept pushing, and I finally found, it was like 8 o'clock at night when I knocked on this lady's door. It was dark outside. I thought for sure she was going to just, slam the door, not open it or anything, but turned out I walked right in. She invited me in, and didn't even take about 10 minutes before I was filling out an application. It was awesome. But, not every week goes like that. One of the things that Chase asked me to talk about was, just getting out of your own way by removing fear. Now, I think there's a lot of reasons why some people have fears in this business. This is You know, when I first started in this business, I had never done any sales before. I was a construction manager, engineer, you know, that's about as far as you can get from sales, you know, insurance. But so when I first started, I really had a mental wrestling match in my own head about buying leads. That was my biggest fear. Couldn't conceive the idea in my mind about spending several $100s per week or a couple thousand per month. That was just a lot of money to me, and it kind of made me a little scared, a little fearful. But I knew there was a lot of other agents out there who had done it and been successful. So, you know, I mean, I needed to get paid as fast as possible. So I knew the only way to do that was to see lots of qualified people. And of course, leads give us qualified people. So, I pushed my fears aside and I bought the leads. I pushed forward in spite of those fears. A few weeks later, you know, I had a bunch of leads that showed up in the mail, and now a new fear came up. And so I knew that if I wanted to get paid, I needed to go see those people. So I was taught by my manager to call each lead and set an appointment. So I had never done that before either. I was nervous. I was afraid. I'd never done that before. So I had no personal experience to draw upon. My manager basically gave me a script and taught me what to say. I practiced that script. I don't know, I must have done it 10 or 15 times or so. Then I started making dials. I was pretty clumsy, pretty stupid at first, but I just kept on going in spite of my fears. And, you know, in the end, I had several appointments that I set. I was pretty surprised at how well it went. I was like, boy, by the end of that, it took me probably 3 hours to get the appointments filled up for the next, maybe even 4 hours. But, you know, the first few dials you do that I was doing it for, it was a little scary. But after a while, you just get into this groove, and it was so smooth. But anyway, so now that I had these appointments with people, my next fear was going to see them in their homes. I'd never done that before either, so I was nervous and afraid. I was given a script of what to say in the home by my manager. I practiced that script at least 25 times before I practiced with my wife. I practiced it in front of a mirror. I did it, and this is, back in 2014. And mind you, I didn't have anybody to drive with, to go with. I just had to basically practice this thing. So I did that about 25 times before I went and saw my first appointment. I remember feeling nervous that I might screw up my presentation, right in front of somebody, totally screw up. But, after practice, I think it made a huge difference for me to practice that presentation over and over and over to the point where it felt more natural. And I think that's a huge thing, is to be natural, to be fluid in front of somebody. Unfortunately for me, the first appointment that I went to ended up buying a policy. It was he was in his 70s, and it was a $90 a month premium. I was pretty stoked. Of course, not every single person, bought a policy from me. But either way, I was slowly overcoming those fears. I was just charging for it in spite of the fears. The next level, I guess, of fear came probably, I think I'd been in the business doing final expense for about 2 to 3 months, and things were going okay. I was doing, I would say, mediocre at best. I was making sales, but they were small, they were inconsistent, and I hate to say this, but they were just kind of occasional, Chase. I was listening to the weekly calls from my manager at that time, and he suggested that any agent is really serious about getting to the top of the learning curve as fast as possible, then they should make the commitment to buy a little audio recording device, record their presentations in like an MP3 format or whatever, and send that audio recording by email to the manager. I was nervous about doing this because I kind of feared that my manager was going to laugh at me or really kind of tell me how much I suck. But, I wanted to get better. I wanted to get paid. So after a few weeks, I decided that I was going to do whatever I had to do in order to get better. I spent $70 on a voice recorder. I recorded about 3 presentations. I didn't try to send him my best presentations. I sent him the first 3 presentations. I wanted him to get a good sample of what I was doing. And I emailed it to him, and I sent it to him on a Friday night at like 9 o'clock. It was about 9 p.m. was my time in Mountain Time. Well, I got a text from him about an hour later. He lives in Eastern Time, so it was late where he was at. The funny thing about it is he actually did laugh at me a little bit, and he did kind of lay into me in a constructive way. He was very blunt, and he didn't hold back anything. So in a way, I guess, in a way, my fears sort of came true, but he also gave me a ton of knowledge and direction about what to do and what not to do. And one of the biggest pointers is that I was being way too timid, and I was letting prospects have complete control of the entire conversation. He taught me that I needed to be the one to kind of take charge of every prospect. Otherwise, they would just kind of walk all over me, and I would end up losing the sale, which was happening a lot anyway. So he taught me to ask lots of questions. That questions are the thing that kind of control. I think this was brought up by Tom a couple of weeks ago. He talked about how questions, whoever's asking the questions is in control, and I totally agree with that. I learned that by by experience. And sometimes those questions were tough questions. It wasn't easy to always ask, to be the person asking questions. But, that night was kind of a pivotal moment for me in this business. I realized that the only reason I was not getting better is because I wasn't taking charge. And I wasn't taking charge because I was not charged. I wasn't taking control. And I wasn't taking control because it was uncomfortable for me. The fear and discomfort were preventing me from making more money. And fear and discomfort were nothing but just personal feelings, and I was allowing personal feelings to prevent me from making more money. It's pretty hard. I imagine myself explaining to my kids that, Dad can't pay the bills because he doesn't want to let go of his feelings or whatever. But, and I'm just being honest here. So I realized the only way I was going to get better and make more sales is to just kind of push those feelings aside, be a business. And so I had to figure out a way to just do things that just made me feel uncomfortable. And that's what I did. I stepped way outside of my comfort zone. And it was an adjustment at first. It was uncomfortable. I started taking control of every presentation because I wanted to get paid. It's not that I wanted to take charge or take control, but I wanted to get paid. So I started asking more questions. I started taking control. I was getting I was way outside my comfort zone, but lo and behold, I started making more sales. And not only that, but my average premium number was getting consistently higher every month. Since that time, I've consistently bought leads every single week. Every week. I've always made a profit on my direct mail leads. Chase, there have been a lot of times where buying 15, 20 leads, that was, I remember every time I would go jump, to the next level, going from 20 leads a week to 25 and 25 to 30, that was, every time there was kind of a fear in my mind, but I knew I had that past experience to draw upon. I knew that I could make money at this. I knew it. It wasn't a question of, can I make this happen? I knew it was going to happen. It was just a matter of, am I willing to just have faith and confidence in myself and do it? I've met with thousands of people at this point in my business, and I've replaced my fear. Fear is no longer an issue at all. I love doing things that are outside my comfort zone. I've learned to just reward myself mentally for doing the things that make me feel uncomfortable or fearful. I love those things now. When I first started in this business, my presentation was weak, it was mechanical, it was choppy, and it came across as kind of memorized and dispassionate. But now, after doing this so many times, it's fluid, it's natural. I overcame my fears and discomfort, and I knew that that was the only way. That was the only way I was going to get better, is just practice and just pushing my fears aside. And, because getting better means getting paid more and quickly. Over the years, I've learned that controlling fears, inside my mind is one of the single most important things that I have to do in my business. I've learned to replace my fears with positive thoughts. When I pull up to every appointment, I have a little process that I follow. I look at the lead, then I imagine in my mind, I see the presentation going smoothly, where I'm in control, but not in control in an offensive way. It's a very fluid and natural way, a caring and loving way. I'm gently leading the prospect logically and smoothly from one point to another. Then I imagine the person filling out the application, and I imagine them thanking me profusely as I'm walking out the door with an application in my bag. And I imagine the commission showing up in my bank account. And all this takes me less than 30 seconds. I remove the fear by replacing it with something extremely positive. Does every single appointment go like that? No, it doesn't. But I've sometimes been surprised at how many of them do go like that. I've had some clients who actually hugged me on the way out the door because they're so grateful for my help. It's happened a lot. But the most important thing in this business, Chase, that I've learned is two words: getting paid. Getting paid, that's it. Nothing else matters. Annualized premium, and we talk about a lot of things: annualized premium, weekly lead count, goals, area, dialing to set appointments, door knocking, seeing people. All these things they're important, and they're definitely part of this business. But the most important thing is getting paid. And I realized this. I said, I have to get paid. I need to get paid weekly, consistently. And I need to be almost military disciplined every single week to do this. Everything we do in this business revolves around getting paid. It's at the center of everything we do. That is the focus, the main focus of what I do every day. Over the years, I've learned to control my fears inside my head. I've learned that whatever people think about all day long is what they usually end up doing. If I have fears inside my head, if I have bad, if you go into an appointment and you just had an argument, if I had an argument with my wife, or if something's going on with one of my kids, they're acting badly, that tends to follow me inside the home. It rents space inside your head. So a lot of that, I think, Chase, just has to do with mental, getting over the stuff inside my head, getting my mind in the right place. I think that, if you replace, just have a habit. If I have a habit of putting good things inside my head all day, every day, things have a tendency to go much better. Now that, you might hear that and think, oh, what a bunch of garbage. What a bunch of psycho junk. I'm telling you, I used to think that. But I am convinced it's true. What you put inside your head. So I started listening to audiobooks, and I started listening to positive things, filling my brain with positive stuff. And the nice thing about that is that it pushes it naturally. There's no room inside your brain. You can only concentrate on one thing at a time. You can't think about your late mortgage payment, or you can't think about all the other junk that's going on inside your head if you have something positive that's sitting there lingering, that's in front of you all the time. So I constantly put in front of in my mind, massive successful thinking. I always think about it. I always think about not just little goals, but you know what? I shoot. I reach, I scratch and claw, and I try to get my goals a little higher. It used to be that I would try to hit 4,000 every week, and that's a good goal. 4,000 a week, and it's not unachievable. It's very achievable, believe it or not. I think for new agents, they might think, wow, 4,000, that's a lot. And you know, and to some degree it is. But once you've done it a couple of hundred times, it's really not that hard. I don't know if I've done it 100 times, but I've done it enough times where I don't have to think about it. It's not at that point I think, well, gosh, if I could hit 4,000, why can't I hit 5? I think I talked about this last time, but you get so confident in yourself that you start to think, well, why can't I hit $600 in premium? Or, you know, I a lot of times think about it in terms of dollars of premium, monthly premium, not AP, but monthly premium. Sometimes that helps me a little bit. It makes the goal seem a little smaller inside my brain. So 4,000 is 300 and something dollars a month, but if you think of it in terms of if I can hit 350 in a month, why can't I hit 400? If I can hit 400 in premium, why can't I hit 5? Why can't I hit 6 or 7? And you keep doing this, and over time, the fear is gone. There's no fear. At that point, you're only focused on big numbers. The fear is gone. There's no fear, Chase. It's a natural thing that just happens with practicing and doing this over and over and over, hundreds of times, meeting with people and experiencing and not being afraid to fail, not being afraid to screw up. I can't even tell you, Chase. I must have, in my first 6 months of doing this business, I bet I probably blew $30,000 in sales. I bet you that's a pretty close bet. $30,000 in premium that I could have made if I'd have known what I know now. You know, if I'd have had the confidence and the knowledge of what I know now, I probably blew $30,000. But I was out there. I wasn't afraid to screw up, and I screwed up plenty. I walk out of every appointment and I think, wow, that was dumb. You know, I was beat myself up a little bit, but you don't want to beat yourself up too bad because you got to get to that next appointment. You have to think positive. I just started to think positive and think, you know what, what did I do wrong? What could I figure out? What could I avoid doing that I did in that last appointment? How can I make more money? What could I have done differently? How could I have made that sale? And then I just focus only on those things. And I go see the next person. And I do this every week after week after week. You know, Chase, I'm going to end. I used to work on Labor Day. Every year. For the last 3 years, I've worked on Labor Day. And I finally decided to take Labor Day off. Just went with some friends of ours up to a cabin way up in the mountains in Utah. And we rode four-wheelers and just kind of let go. But I could do that now. I mean, getting paid is what it's all about. I just had to do what I had to do to get paid. And I remember thinking, you know, it's nice. I'm sitting up there at the top of this mountain, you know, looking at wildlife and having a blast and thinking to myself, this is why I work. This is the goal, is to enjoy myself and to have fun and goof off. Because I worked. Because I worked and, you know, I overcame those fears. But that's all I got for you, Chase. I hope that's what you're looking for.